Okay, so yeah, the Leadville, probably one of the most hardest things that I've ever done.
Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon.
Just in terms of being that high at altitude, it was a lot harder than what I expected, to be honest. I've never really ridden my bike and felt so insignificant. And I went there having this plan. I thought if I could be ride between like 7 and 8 hours, then it'd be a great day. But things didn't go quite the way that I planned, really. I basically went out there 2 weeks before, so I did get some acclimation to the altitude. But going from like Bottrill, which is at like 5,500 feet, then we went to Estes Park, which is like 6,500, and then eventually at Silverthorn, and that's at nearly 9,000. So for the final week, but when you're on race day and you're at 10,000 feet, it's a totally different sensation. And ideally, for like that amount of altitude, you need to be out there 5 weeks before. But running a business and not being a professional athlete, that's not really feasible. So you basically are on the start line and you're looking down at your heart rate and you're thinking, I'm not even set off and I'm at 100 beats. So you know that as soon as you put any energy into the bike, that your heart rate's going to be hovering around like 140 to 150. As soon as you go up a climb, then it's obviously going to explode ultimately, and your job is to try and keep that heart rate down, which is what I managed to do throughout the day. But in terms of like the course itself, like I'd built this dream bike, I'd followed Keegan Swinson, did the drop bar handlebar, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't have the skill set to be able to ride that on like the descents. Like I've done loads of gravel riding, I've been going up to Derbyshire doing lots of climbing, but to replicate what Leadville's all around, then it's almost like impossible. So what I was finding, like on the climbs, you can't really go hard too hard. You've got to keep like your heart rate down. So for me, I started in like the Gold Wave. I thought that I'd be around like 7 hours, and I got dropped like straight away. And then from that point, then it was just like groups catching me, and then I was fine on like the ascents, but then going downhill, it's a totally different terrain. It was a lot more rocky than what I thought it was. Like Powerline it's so rocky, it blows your mind realistically. And we in the UK, we've just got nothing that replicates that. There's like a lot of boulders, and then they have like sand, so the boulders are in like sand, like how we get mud here and soil, but they have like sand. And what had happened through they had a really hard winter, and obviously the snow melt washes that away, and then there's loads of boulders, but the sand makes it very that the bike's just sliding all over the place. So it's just a skill set that you need to learn, and it's something that I definitely, over time I want to definitely improve on that. And then, basically got to like the main feed stations. That all went well, and I realised, like, at the bottom, the base of like combine, it was like 3 hours. You're thinking, oh wow, it's going to take me an hour to get to the top, if not longer. This is going to be at like 12,500 feet, and you're already feeling, wow, I'm really feeling this at the minute. And I remember looking at Julie Dibbons thinking, I don't even know if I'm going to break 9 hours to get like what they call like the gold buckle. And she says, you can do it. But you start climbing Combine, and like going up to 12,500 feet, they have, you basically get up to what they call like the goat track, and that's just, I was in I had 34, 52, and it's just not enough gears, and it's almost like having somebody sit on your chest, and you can't produce power, and you're down at like 2 miles an hour. So the best way of getting up that hill is to walk. And I never thought that you'd ever see me walk up any climb, or I was almost like embarrassed to do it, but I had no choice. And then, unfortunately, one of the things that did happen to me coming down Powerline stepping back, I actually lost the brake pads on my front brake. So that was a bit of a nightmare. I got to the base of power line, and then for some reason the pin came out, and I lost my front brake, which coming back down combine was a nightmare, because obviously it's very steep, very rocky, and it was the front brake that went. But the problem with that is then the back brake, it just means the bike's sliding everywhere. So, but you can't produce speed because you're ultimately going to crash. And I was thinking at stages, am I actually going to be able to finish this thing with only having like one brake? But luckily I got down to the climb, got down to the feed, and I knew at that point like braking 9 hours was going to be out of the equation realistically. It was a race of more survival. So you basically stop in the valley then, fueled. I knew that power line was coming. I felt pretty good, and throughout the day I never blew. Like it was more of just like the altitude was getting to me. But then you go back up to power line, and honestly, this thing is like a wall. Like you can't. There's no climb in the UK that I've ever been up and thought I'm gonna have to get off and walk. And again, with the altitude, I mean 34, 52, and I had to walk again, which. Was not the most satisfying thing, but ultimately you've got no choice, because it's faster to walk than it is to ride like your bike. Like if you watch some of the like the footage from races past, you'll see like people like Lachlan Morton having to walk up power line. It is just like that steep. Then obviously coming down to the other side again, had the same problem. No front brake, so you're just going at like 0 mile an hour, not wanting to crash. And then just round Carterlake Summit, then again, the last 15 miles felt like it went on for hours. Like at that point you're at 8 hours, and I'm thinking, oh wow, I've still got like 15 miles an hour and I'm only averaging 11. So you just know that it's going to take you like an hour and 15 minutes, which is what it took me. But finishing was so rewarding, and I learned a lot about myself going through that day. Like being out there for 9 hours, you kind of like, you question yourself a little bit, but then you realise, I was thinking to myself, like, it'd be so easy to just quit and just say, you know what, I've done everything in cycling, I've set these goals and I achieved everything that I wanted to do. But then it's like learning new things, isn't it? And that's what one big takeaway from it is, that this is a challenge. And I always said this was a once in a lifetime opportunity, but ultimately I definitely want to go back. I'd like to go back when I was 50, kind of just learn from the mistakes that I made, and kind of progress and ultimately try and break like the 8 hours. Or get to 8 hours, even breaking 9 to get like the gold buckle, because it doesn't mean a lot in the grand scale of things, having achieved what I have, but it's just setting yourself a target, isn't it? When you go out training, you've got something to work towards, and that's what I want to try and do. I'd love to do when I'm 50 in 2 years. And I've kind of set myself the challenge now that I want to do Unbound and Leadville in like the same year, because I think that'd be it'd be quite a rewarding thing to do, and it just means that I've got to learn like new skills. So ultimately the takeaways for me from that event are that, number one, I made the wrong bike choice. If I went back, I would I'd have a full suspension bike with a normal handlebar. I've already converted the Leadville bike into a dropped handlebar. Definitely wouldn't ride a hardtail. And the bike itself, like the setup, the position, apart from the dropped handlebars, I would never do that again. The gearing, I'd probably run 32, 52, because I think that coming from sea level, you see like somebody like Keegan's pushing a 42.2 chain ring, and you think, there's no way I'm going to need like a 32. But for me, that's what I'd definitely ride. And then acclimating will be a big part. Like I definitely do. Like I should have done like more heat prep. I should have looked at like the stimuluses that you can do for like altitude training. It's very hard. I'm never going to be in a position where I can go out there like 5 weeks before, but I try to implement specific parts into like my training to put myself in like a better position. The fueling and everything else, I kind of nailed that. The training that I did, you know, like there's nothing more that I could do, you know. We were doing like 7 hours rides and that's all I can realistically do, you know. Like you can't really go out and do like 9 hours every week, but it's just, yeah, I definitely keep the training the same, but what I would definitely do is include like a lot more strength work into my training, and that's what I'm going to do moving forward. I found a new strength and conditioning coach. I'm also going to take mountain bike lessons at Cannock Chase. I found somebody that does coaching for mountain bike because I want to learn like the skill set, like riding on the road. Nobody, you know, I can compete with like anybody. I can compete with like the youngsters and carry the speed, but a mountain bike is just like so different, and that's what excites me. It's learning a new skill, and it's like for anybody, isn't it? You can do the training, but if you haven't got the skill set, then you're not going to achieve the goal that you're setting out to do. They're my takeaways. I definitely want to go back, and yeah, I still had a great time and a great holiday, which I kind of needed. So that's the Leadville Roundup.